What is going on? Well, we know what's going on, actually. We pretend like we don't know because it just seems more like we're one of everyone else. We're one of the many out there that are wondering what's happening, but we're not wondering what's happening. We're actually aware of what's happening, and we're out in front of what's happening, and we're trying to warn people about what's coming, giving them a heads up. Hello, everybody. Denise, Regina. I see Gina is in the house. Regina and Gina. L'amazing. Storm J. Tunnels are flooded in Los Angeles. I saw that. A collapse. There's people trapped, I guess, in a tunnel. I saw that. Judgment is coming, and that's what's happening. I do believe that something is afoot. As we said, things were going to start. You know, I gave an illustration the other day about floods coming, catching many people unaware, and that it was going to happen very suddenly, like in the model of Texas. And these things are going to begin to happen upon the earth in what I would define as judgment, as a wake up call to humanity, because humanity doesn't recognize the time of its visitation, right? Just like Israel didn't recognize when their Messiah was standing right in front of them, and they didn't recognize it. And so humanity is being judged because it has gone on and on and on without recognition of what would make for real peace. They're looking for a peace that is not ever going to come. The hope that they have is going to be deferred. As it says, Scripture says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Hope that never comes. Hope that is promised and then never happens. We're talking about a hope and a peace and a joy that is beyond anything that this world can afford. Nothing can give this to you except the message that we bring in the context of explaining what's happening in the world. We point you back to the source. You know, the source of the news. The good news is that God is in control, and he's above all these events that are unfolding, whether it's judgments or if it's a time of peace, if it's a time of, as it says, there's a time for every season. There's a time for everything under heaven. There's a time for everything. And what are we in? The time of war? Are we in the time of pestilences and floods and you know, is this it? What do you guys think? What's your estimation of where we're at? Type it in the chat. I'm kind of curious to see. Impromptu poll here, right off the top here at the stream. Just kind of curious. What's your take on what's happening? Mount Rainier, yeah, lots of swarms of earthquakes. There's also been a lot of earthquakes in Japan too, or is it Hawaii? One of the two. There's a whole bunch of seismic activity on planet Earth right now. A bunch of strange things happening in the heavens. And now we've got all these strange storms that are flooding 25 different states from what I understand. There's 25 states in the US that are under some kind of flood watch. And it looks like there's a lot of flooding going on, that's continuing on. Birth pangs, somebody says for sure. Looking like the end times to me. Indonesia, yeah, was it Indonesia where all those swarms of quakes were happening in Indonesia? There's a lot of seismic activity there, a lot of volcanic activity. And you're talking about the West Coast where Mount Rainier is, you're talking about a lot of potential, we could see another volcanic eruption like Mount St. Helens. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And not only that, but off the coast there, the Cascadia subduction zone, I guess, is very seismically active as well. And there's potential for a massive tsunami that would engulf the whole of the West Coast in some way affecting the whole of the West Coast if there was ever a big seismic event there. And you're talking about something like what happened during what was that big Indonesian quake that happened that caused a tsunami that killed what 100,000 people? How many people died on that in that tsunami? It wasn't it up there around 100,000? It could have been more than that. I don't even know. I know it was a huge amount of people that died in that huge tsunami. And that happened because of a similar situation where a landmass was displaced under the ocean because of some seismic activity, and it caused a massive tsunami to sweep in off the coast. Um, Tribulation for sure. Boxing Day tsunami. Yeah, that was it, Roxy Rain. That was what they called it, the Boxing Day tsunami. And I wonder why they call it Boxing Day. Why did they call it Boxing Day? What was the deal with that? I'm in the Blaze Command Center. Yeah, the BP Command Center here, overlooking the city from high atop my mountain perch, tucked away in the cleft of the rock. This is actually a rock cave, and it's kind of like a little Noah's Ark stuck up in the. You like it? You like that? Nobody can see me though because it's all really thick tinted glass, and it's like three inches thick, bulletproof, tsunami proof as well. So in case a tsunami comes sweeps in, it'll just kind of wash right over. 25 states is what I heard. December 26th is Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Okay, so that's what it was, huh? Gotcha. Portugal, 1755. Was there a big earthquake then? Wow. So let's see what's happening. I know there's a lot going on here, and I'm just kind of catching up right now with some of the news. I've been busy chopping a bunch of wood, trying to get everything ready. Because we got a lot of logs that need to be, bucked up. They call it bucking up the log, making sure that it has enough time to dry before I start splitting it. So I'll be splitting it up at the end of the year, but I got to make sure that I cut it up first. So there's a bunch of logs that we have out there that need to be cut up. And then I'm going to finish up my gate just in time for Armageddon. Make sure that we're locked in. We're locked in and we're loaded for bear, for zombies. No, I mean, I think that it is there's always a little bit of room for a little bit of levity, but it's really not a time to really. I mean, it is a time to be very sober and aware of what's going on in our surrounding, in our environment is very important. Otherwise, we will be, you could very well be caught unaware. And that time come upon you, it says, when you least expect it. Kind of like Noah's flood. People didn't realize that Noah was actually correct until it started to rain. And then they were like, oh my gosh, Noah was actually smart. I bet you God had told Noah a number of different things before that actually happened to get the people's attention. But they still stiffened their neck and hardened their heart, and they wrote it off as just, he got lucky. He just predicted all those little things there that led up to this massive, crazy prediction of a flood. And he's building some crazy behemoth of an ark, whatever that is, for some kind of deluge that we've never seen before. But he seems to have a strong conviction because he's out there every day talking about this ark, building this ark, getting ready for something catastrophic. And it doesn't seem like too many people believed him until it was too late. So hopefully these I'm not really I don't really bet against what I'm thinking, because I think what I'm thinking is pretty right on. I think I'm thinking right exactly what I think is going to happen, just because of the track record, what I believe to be the Spirit of the Lord. I know there's a lot of people online that tell you, "Oh, the Lord thus saith." They just throw that term around like it's just like God just speaks to them on a daily basis, sitting down there with the angels telling them stuff, and they're just having conversations. Jesus walking out of the kitchen with some coffee, and sits down and have a little tea and crumpets. I mean, it's just like a daily thing with them, and everybody just sucks it up like it's some kind of gospel, prophecy and tea every day, but it's not even true. It's a lie. And there's a lot of people sucking up those lies, millions of people that watch this kind of stuff on YouTube and on other platforms. It used to be people were watching all this stuff on like TBN and God TV and all these other networks, and they still kind of do. The old school people still do, but most of the younger generation now is following these YouTube prophets and YouTube apostles and everything else, and the Seven Mountain Mandate and the Kingdom Now theologies and then they wed it with their politics, and they become it radicalized, and they're missing it. They're missing the message. They're not getting the gist of what the scriptures really teach. They're missing the basics. They're building on a bunch of external doctrinal, rabbit trails. They're getting off on tangents. They're majoring on the minors, is what they call it. Majoring on the minors. And they haven't even gotten the foundation secure. They haven't even have a sound doctrinal position that is scripturally sound. And so they become ashamed as time goes on. Their life reveals the cracks, and then they begin to see their house is built on shifting sand, and they're losing. They're found wanting. They're being weighed and tested in the balance, and their kingdom is falling. The kingdom that they have built on this earth, all in the name of Jesus, but Jesus' name is attached. So it must be right, because they throw Jesus' name around everywhere, and they say it's the gospel. They sing gospel songs. They give you 3 points in a sermon, 3 points in a sermon and a song at the end. But the lust of their own hearts for this world has compromised and has skewed their view of the doctrines of Christ. They're teaching doctrines of men. They're teaching traditions of men. Just like the Jews of old, they're doing the same thing today. And many are following them. And many are paying a terrible price right now. And the price is about to become very, very steep. In fact, it could cost them their eternal souls. And I pray that God gives them a little time to repent. The wake-up call comes and they repent. Now, it's so crazy. When I go online, my dogs start going crazy. I don't know why my dogs are barking right now. I don't know, maybe there's a deer out there, a bear. Maybe there's some crazy person trying to come over our fence. What am I going to have to do? Go out there and find out what's going on? Yes, I'm building my gate. It's almost done. And the gate might be a sign in accordance with some of the things that I've shared with you guys. We'll be seeing if that gate coincides with a big breakout of hostilities. And if so, It's not going to be good because I think this is the big one. This second round does not look like it's going to be mitigated in any way by calls for peace and diplomacy and all these hopium statements that aren't being confirmed by the other side. Hopium statements like, "Oh yeah, they've made a deal with us. We have a peace agreement. It's already signed." Iran's like, "What? Who are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with some kind of crazy person or what? I mean, like, did that? We haven't even met with them. Haven't even talked with them. They just set us up to be bombed and killed all of our top diplomats and generals. He's saying there's a peace agreement on the table. Like, where? Who is this crazy man? The Chinese say the same thing. Like I said, you just woke up to a nightmare, MAGA. Now you can sit there and try to say it's 5D chess or something, but it's not going to work anymore. Especially when it's your head that's on the chopping block. Because these were your issues. All right, hold on one second. I got to find out what's going on. Okay. I don't know. I have no idea why they're barking. I just told them to shut up. This is distracting. Great Pyrenees, Anatolian, and a monster boss who will eat you alive. If you cross the line. But anyways. See if eating the dogs, they eating the cats. They might be eating the cats. We've got a few extra cats now that these kitties we never gave them away. We never gave away the kitties. And now they're almost like cats. Like, what are we going to do with these cats? There's not that many yet, but we better do something quick. Okay, so what was I saying? I was sitting here talking about, okay, so we're going to get into the news. All right, so let's look at some of the news. How many people we got here tonight? This is a late night. Yeah, this is a late night. This is a late night. Kind of like this. No, it's not. It's not on. Okay. Let me just see what we got here.
And now, live
Can you hear that?
from the Blazing Press Studios, it's Late Night with Robert.
I do like that guy's voice. You guys know who that is, don't you? I think he's in the chat. He might be somewhere in the chat here. If you're in the chat there, brother, voiceover, Chuck. That's Chuck, by the way. And if there's any channels out there that agree with what I'm saying and want to collab or do something, you got to have a channel, though. You got to be a regular podcaster. I can't just go on with anybody. But, yeah, you want to get a voiceover, that dude will give you a voiceover. I'll tell you who it is. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. If anybody does want like a crazy, not crazy, but professional sounding intros and outros, and even commercials. I mean, even commercials. He does some great commercials. You guys know who I'm talking about, right? You like my other bunker Which bunker is that? You mean this one? Poof. I just was translated. Like Philip. I was translated to my other underground layer where we have activated the lasers. The lasers. We will destroy Earth if you don't give us $1 million. But wait, $1 million is not the same as it was in 1960. We have to go to $1 billion. Okay, so let's get into the news. I'm screwing around, I know. Okay, so let's see if I can get some news up here. Some news updates. Some newsy updates. What's going on here? What is happening here today? Okay, so Israel launched a huge amount of missiles today. I'm sorry. They're going to launch a huge amount of missiles here pretty soon. But I think that they were launched upon. Now, it might have been Yemen. I don't know. There were a whole bunch of Kumta alerts. If you didn't notice and you don't follow Kumta, these are some of the alerts here. And this is what the map looked like again earlier today. This was at about 7:30 p.m., which would have been about 2 hours ago. So it looks like we had some incoming, and I know that things are about to ramp up. They're expecting some major hostility outbreak of hostilities here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Wouldn't be surprised if it's in the next 48 hours or so. But who knows? You know, it could be another week. I mean, they've got their timing. I know that the skies are still got the NOTAMs over Iran, so they still have no-fly zones. If you want to call it a no-fly zone, basically it's just an area of airspace that's been shut down in case of missile fire all throughout western part of Iran. Now, the eastern part of Iran still has flights that are going through. In fact, let's take a look at the flight radar here. Just out of curiosity, let's take a look at flight radar and see what it's showing here. Well, it looks like there's more flights now in western Iran. It's still kind of sparse. There are a lot of planes that are going along the border, but not too much inside of Iran. I was about to say, Durka, 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 but I didn't. Let's see if I can pull this up here really quickly here. This is Iran right now. This is current maps. Before we were looking, there was only planes that were flying over here. And this whole area was completely empty because of the NOTAMs. You would see not one flight in this area of western Iran. But now it seems that there are planes now flying. Let's see what kind of planes these are. Dubai. Looks like a Dubai plane. This one is Karun Air. I'm not sure what that is. That might be, it says here, I don't know what Karun, Karun Airlines, whatever that is. This one is, these are all coming out Dubai. This one is Aeroflot. Another Dubai. So it looks like Dubai is really flying a lot of planes into Iran. Air Arabia. And this one is Air Dubai. Once again, another Dubai. Lots of planes that are coming in from the United Arab Emirates. These are all just coming out of the Emirates here. They might be flying through their airspace. Who knows? But lots of Dubai planes. I'm looking at all these. You can see when you click on them, You can see they're Dubai. This one is Air Arabia, but that's a Dubai. That's I have no idea what that is. Flyness. Caspian. But see, the Dubai ones are coming up from here. Yeah, these are all Emiratis. These are all coming up from the United Arab Emirates. All passenger civilian planes. So they're basically trying to keep any kind of terrible events from happening where civilian aircrafts are accidentally shot down. Did you know that America shot down a civilian airliner inside of Iran's airspace in the 80s? How many of you guys knew that? And they didn't make a whole big deal about it. I was just watching a video about this, and I never knew anything about this. I was pretty shocked to find out that we had actually shot down a civilian airliner with 290 people on it back in the 80s. Let's see if I could show you that little video. I mean, some might say, well, don't be showing us that. That makes us look bad. Well, it's interesting because I never knew it. It's like history, right? I mean, can't we look at history? I mean, geez, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Like, why is this type of stuff happening here? And hopefully it don't happen again. So here it says on July 3rd, 1988, the USS Vincennes, and I'm guessing that's some kind of ship that we have, a Navy ship, shot down an Iran Air Flight 655, a civilian airliner that was carrying 290 passengers in Iranian airspace. Despite its active civilian transponder, the plane was destroyed. The U.S., and this is coming from an Iranian or a Middle Eastern source, so they're calling the U.S. a regime. So you understand, this is not coming from our side, quote unquote. But still, I never knew about this. It says that the U.S. regime never apologized, instead decorating the captain. Scenes from the Persian Gulf after bodies of passengers were found. But just listen to some of the statements of the actual people that were supposed to investigate this tragedy, because it was a tragedy. Anytime something like that happens, there should be an investigation, even if we're doing something, that maybe they might still be considered an enemy of the U.S. or whatever, still we should be realizing that civilians are not legitimate targets, but just listen to this, and just so that in case you never knew about it, this is something you can actually see for yourself actually did happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I think, and I believe deeply, that had there been one American on that aircraft, that the story would have gone on from there. But sadly, in a macabre way, sadly, there wasn't. And so consequently, there wasn't any drive to get to the bottom of the story.
And the new investigation, headed by Warren Nelson, simply petered out. Other things seemed more important.
The reason why there was no final report is exclusively my fault. We didn't produce any further document, although we wanted to, and I got bogged down with something else that erupted. I forget what it was.
The really sad part of this whole thing, in my opinion, is the lack of taking responsibility for what happened. I view the entire affair as a gigantic screw-up. And yet, once we got through the preliminary investigation in Bahrain conducted by Admiral Fogarty, we hear not a word of it from there on out. Why is that? Well, I find it interesting that we took no further action. It seems to me it was plain that it was a tremendous mistake, a giant blunder. At that point, it would seem to me that we should have addressed it as a giant blunder, held people accountable, taken corrective action, and I believe we should have apologized to the Iranians for it.
Well, yeah, we should have apologized. Why didn't we? I never even knew about this until today when I'm sitting here looking at the other side's, accounts here on Telegram. I'm sitting here scrolling through and I'm like, what? I never knew that. Did anybody ever know about this? I'm kind of just curious. Did anybody ever remember that event? I surely don't. I don't know. Let me look at your guys' chat here really quick. Just kind of get up on it. You did a speech about it in ninth grade, in grade 9, the Iran-Iraq war. So I knew about Saddam and Osama before they switched sides. Yeah, Roxy, you never heard of that? Jackie, did you ever know about that? No, I never knew about that. It was Pan American Flight 103. So it was a Pan American flight, huh? Wow. That is crazy. December 21st, 1988. And we just basically just kind of covered it up. But they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats. Never heard of it, and I'm 50. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy. Vaguely, Lily says, vaguely. Well, they didn't really make a big deal about it. That's probably why nobody ever heard about it. I mean, we literally killed 290 Iranians on accident. That's what I'm saying. We don't want to see anything like that happen again. I mean, geez. I know a lot of Iranians. In the past, I've known a lot of Iranians, and I know one or two Iranians now, and they're nice people. I mean, they're obviously Americans now, but their culture, the background. I'm talking about Farsi. There's a Christian area of northern Iraq. Did you know that? They don't just kill Christians just because you're a Christian. You can be a person that grew up in a Christian faith. Now, there might be some persecution in a certain way, economically, I would say. They've got Christians in Iraq. They've got Christians in Iran. And they don't just go out and just kill them, but they do kind of look as it's almost like a caste system. They kind of look at them as a lower subgroup in a certain way. They don't get as much privilege because they're not a part of the Muslim majority, right? But so I guess institutionally there is a little persecution, but that's why a lot of people that have left Iran, they'll come here and they'll, but I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Where am I at here? Okay, so here's some of the flooding that's going on. Look at the flooding. This flooding right here is taking place. This is just in the last few hours. These are taking place in Durham, North Carolina. This is Durham, North Carolina. Huge amounts of flooding. They're saying another one of those 100 to 1,000 year flood events, right? Waters are just rising very quickly. There was another event in New Mexico where they said the rivers rose 20 feet in like 30 minutes. 20 feet in 30 minutes in New Mexico. And you've got events happening now in North Carolina, and there's different parts of the country now that are under flood watch. From what I understand, there's 25 different states now that have flood watches Look at the car lights underneath the water. There are people literally in those cars. You can see the window wipers still going on that one car. Look at that. It's completely underwater, and the lights are still on. You would have thought that those lights would have shorted out by now. It says here, after experiencing severe flooding and a 1 in 1,000 year rain event 3 days ago, Durham is now facing another major flooding event tonight. So this was just a 1 in 1,000 year flood event they just had 3 nights ago, and now they're experiencing more flooding. This is Durham, North Carolina. Flash flood warnings are now in effect for all of these areas in Washington, D.C. Flash flood warnings are issued for Washington, D.C. right now. Potential exposure population 2,170,956 people, 443 schools, 26 hospitals. This is potentially how much this area that is in the red under flood watch and warning will affect. That it's going to affect that many people. Move immediately to higher ground. Now, that was another word that I got that I believe God has given us. And if you're not a part of our daily fellowship on our BP Ministries channel, you might want to be connected to that. But the word was that people needed to get to higher ground, and they needed to be aware of their environments, because things are going to happen very suddenly and very similarly to what happened where people were caught unaware in the middle of the night when they were asleep. And you don't want to be asleep when you're getting, you don't want to be asleep if the floodwaters are rising, or there's a break-in, or tornadoes coming, or, and there's no warning. You don't have a warning system. You better have your ears and your eyes and your heart on a swivel. You better be asking God to watch your 12 and your 6. You know what I mean? You got to have some angels out there protecting you, because things are about to get really dicey, guys. Very dicey. There have been 320 flooding reports across 25 states. These are all the different areas that are flooding from July 4th to July 9th. All of these areas. And there's more to come. The Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, and Appalachians have a risk for excessive rainfall on Wednesday. Have a plan if you live in a flood-prone zone area. That is today, right? Today. And I'm not sure what's going to be coming tomorrow, but look at the crazy clouds here. These are clouds that were in Maryland. MJ Truth is reporting Bowie, Maryland. This is Bowie, Maryland. Looks kind of weird. Like a big snake. Houthi missiles incoming to Israel. This was what just happened a little bit ago. Houthi missiles incoming. You can see the contrail there, or whatever they call it, missile trail. And it's incoming there. It was intercepted with debris falling around central Israel. The IDF intercepted the rocket using aero defense missiles outside of Israeli territory, and there are no reports of injuries or damage. Here's another visual of the incoming missile from the Houthis. Red alerts are sounded over Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about here pretty soon, I'm going to do a video on this, I think. Maybe tomorrow, I hope. I meant to try to get something out today on it, but the ashes of the red heifer. They supposedly have a pure red heifer. Now, they say that if there is any white hair, any hair that they find that's white, it could turn back. They say it disqualifies the heifer, but they're getting really close to doing this ashes of the red heifer thing, where they purify the grounds. I talked about that a few days ago, a week ago. Do you guys remember me talking about that? How they purify the grounds and to get prepared for, building the rebuilt temple? Well, there's been videos that have just come out in the last 24 hours that are talking about this reality of the possible rebuild they're getting prepared. And who's going to help? Well, Donald Trump looks like he's going to be steeped in the midst of it, and that he might be a part of that building effort. I know they have a code and they have a biblical, pattern that they have to follow, and there's a certain rule they got to go according to the ancient texts in order to rebuild that temple a certain way according to code. But they're not supposed to use modern equipment in that rebuild. So not sure exactly how that's going to work, but we're going to get you the information on that. I'll be sharing that with you guys. I've gotten a lot of information on that. And it does look like they've already done a preliminary sacrifice in practice just recently in the last few days. A preliminary sacrifice of a red heifer in preparation for the reality, the real world event, which they will usher in the sanctification of the priesthood, the temple grounds, and the implements, and all the building materials. And how's that going to be playing out? Are they going to get rid of the mosque? I mean, it's going to have to be a prelude of some kind of conflict that the Israelis decide, because right now the Israelis are now going back on a 20 or 30 year protocol of no prayer, no singing on the Temple Mount by any Jew. In fact, Jews aren't really even allowed to kind of go up there at certain points. They're barred from. But now they're letting them go up there. They're letting them pray. They're letting them sing. They're getting in. They're really preparing for the eventual acquisition, I believe, of the land itself that's on that Temple Mount to get rid of the mosque. This is why a lot of people say October 7th happened, was because they know the Muslims knew that Israel's making moves to initiate that rebuilding of their temple. Yemen Navy devastating attack on Israeli ship in the Red Sea. The footage that was released by the Yemeni army forces shows their attack on a second Israeli-linked ship in the Red Sea, the Eternity Sea. So they just sunk another ship called the Eternity Sea, which resulted in its sinking. Let's see if we can just show you this. This obviously is footage coming from some kind of Islamic site. Are they going to show us this, or are we going to just see this? Okay, there we go. Gosh, that was so loud. I'm so sorry. If you had earmuffs on, please forgive me. This obviously is propaganda to show how powerful and how awesome the Yemeni government or military is, and how they can target ships at will crossing through to try to stop. They're literally trying to stop all shipping is what they're trying to do right now. The Iranians, I have a feeling, are going to do the same thing if this war does kick off. But here we go. Now, another thing you're noticing, that there's a lot of blurriness. That blurriness is done on purpose because they don't want to give away positions. They'll show the missiles going off, but they won't show the land topography, or they won't show any kind of landmarks because they don't want anybody to know where these things are taking off from. Did you see that missile go straight up in the air? Look at that. I couldn't believe that. Just look at that. Look at this. Look at this missile. Look at the way it turns, goes straight up. Watch this. Straight up. Did you see that? Wow. Okay, there's the ship. Oh, they just hit it right directly on the top. Wow. Oh, wow. Big hole right in the midst of the ship. Now, I wonder if that's an oil tanker. That'll stop shipping real quick. Nobody's going to want to transit through there if there's a potential, attack on their ship. Oh, it looks like they got a big old hole. It does look like it's sinking, huh? They're going to show it sink? Oh, yeah, they're showing it sink. It is sinking. Wow, they've actually got footage of this thing. I wonder where all the people are. They rescued them? Look at that. It's just sinking. Look at that. Wow. Jack! Hold on, don't go in until the very last minute. Hold on, the ship is going to suck us down. Hold on and keep kicking to the surface. I trust you, Jack. Hurry, Rose. Kick. The Titanic has gone down. Oh my gosh. They filmed this thing so... My goodness. So they're doing this for the purpose of trying to stop any kind of shipping
and now,
companies from wanting to go through there.
And that's
probably going to work. These types of videos are going to make everybody... What is going on here? Sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. These types of videos are going to make people not want to, shipping companies not want to bring their ships through this area. And this is a very trafficked area for major shipping companies to bring stuff through, including oil. This is the Red Sea area going through up into, I guess the Strait of Hormuz is up there as well, right? Let me see. Red Sea Strait. Let's take a look at this map here. Some people don't have maps. Like the Iraq and the U.S., such as. I always like to make fun of that girl who didn't know what she was talking about. Never seen that video. All right, so here is the map of this area. Let's see here. So basically, you've got Yemen is right here, and they're attacking they're attacking ships right off Yemen and going up into here, because this is still part of Yemen. And this is a strait here. Now this strait goes all the way up into... All right, now I guess this isn't the one I'm thinking of here. The other one where the Iranians are attacking is the Strait of Hormuz. Where is that? Is that up here? No. Where is Iran? Okay, well maybe it is. Okay, so the Strait of Hormuz is right here. Okay, this is where the Strait of Hormuz is. Okay, so Strait of Hormuz is right here. So this is Iran, Strait of Hormuz, and then you've got Yemen is right here, right? Is that Yemen? Pakistan. Yemen. Yeah. Right? Yeah, Gulf of Oman. So Yemen is right here. Why doesn't it say Yemen on here? It doesn't even say the name of the country. But anywho's. You know, when the boats are coming through here, they're like, oh man, we have to go through the Gulf of Oman. They're like going, oh man, we're going to get bombed. We're going to get sunk. All right, let's go back over to our Telegram page here. Let's see what else we got here. Mossad account X. The Middle East is on edge. What? The Mossad is saying that the Middle East is on edge. It's Mossad commentary. Mossad, IL, Israel. I wonder why. I wonder why the Middle East is on edge. Maybe because America's about to jump in? Maybe because there's threats of exposure of a sitting president it's called blackmail. Maybe that's the reason. Because we're about to enter into some kind of conflict on behalf of but he's been promised a peace, Nobel Peace Prize, because they nominated him for that. That's the take. That's the good part, right? Did you see how Netanyahu gave Trump that mezuzah in the shape of a B-2 bomber? I'm gonna put this mezuzah on your door there, President Trump. When they come into the presidential Oval Office, you just stick it right there on the entrance there, so people can rub it on the way in. This represents peace. This big B-2 bomber. That's a little talisman mezuzah. It brings blessings. Yeah, just say Prince of Peace every time you walk in. Just rub it and say Prince of Peace. Walk in. Did you see that? Let's see. Israeli Prime Minister says, Ben Bibi says, we will treat Iran's nuclear program like a cancer that needs to be constantly monitored and possibly treated again. We think we know where Iran's enriched uranium is located. It is sort of located underground in a certain location. It is sort of located underground in a certain location. All right, Terror Alarm says, this is, I guess, an X account. Our intel indicates Israel has received approval for a second wave of strikes on Iran, targeting a nuclear site or targeting nuclear sites to ensure they remain permanently disabled. Intel indicates that Israel has received. Okay, so is America going to give Israel a B-2? Because I think that's what we said we're going to do. We don't want to get involved. We'll just send you the B-2s. And we'll send you the bunker busters. And if that don't work, just load it up with a nuke, tactical nuke, and just go ahead and open up the hole as deep as you can and then drop a nuke inside there. That should do it. Both Hezbollah, Lebanon, and the IRGC in Iran and the Houthis in Yemen are on high alert and readiness in preparation for an Israeli strike. What do they know that we don't? Do 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 do. Just in, Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is reported extending his stay in Washington. Oh, I guess they're going to enjoy whatever's about to happen together with pina coladas and envisioning themselves on the coast of a Riviera on the Mediterranean in Trump Gaza Hotel, toasting to the gods of gold and silver and precious stones. This comes amid reports of unusual military movements throughout the Middle East. Israel's premier may extend his stay in order to have more meetings with Trump, according to media sources. And it seems that anytime Bibi is in the United States, he seems to orchestrate attacks from his vacationing spot somewhere far, far away with his good buddy Trump. I wonder really what Trump is really thinking. That 5D chess brain is just really, really moving. It's really active. Trump on Tuesday suggested a federal takeover of New York City and Washington, D.C. Quote, "We have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to." Trump didn't elaborate on what authority would be as he then turned his focus to the nation's capital. Quote, "We could run D.C. We're looking at D.C. We don't want crime in D.C. We want the city to run well." He said his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, is working with Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser. Now, they've been wanting to try to incorporate that into the state itself so they can oversee it, because as it stands, I think it's an entity, and it has something to do with voting blocks as well. I'm not exactly, there's something behind all that. You guys might know more on that than I do, but senior Iranian official Mohsen Mazai says that if Israel and the United States gain dominance over the region, they will also divide Saudi Arabia and Turkey. They have a plan to divide West Asia into about 50 countries and to bring the skies of the entire region under the control of the U.S. and Israel. This is according to an Iranian official. Now, if that's true, and this is true in intel that's coming from a high-level military official, then that might cause countries like Turkey and other countries in the region, Azerbaijan, countries like that, to be kind of suspicious and maybe siding more in the big scheme of things with Iran and Russia and China. I went into a little deep dive on this today on the broadcast on the BP Ministries channel. We kind of got off into prophecy, not really planning to do that, but I started reading out of Daniel chapter 11, got into, I think, Zechariah, and talking about how the king of the north and the king of the east trouble this regional takeover that is Middle Eastern and Eastern Europe, or possibly even other parts of Europe, that happens at a certain point in time when all of these things start happening around Israel. And that it says that reports of the king of the north coming down, and the king of the east, which would be China and Russia, trouble him, right? He's gaining a lot of ground and dominance for a period of time. And these are prophecies that you might want to be familiar with, because we may in fact be seeing some of this unfolding right now. Now, you kind of got to be a little more of a student, and this is why I say, don't worry about prophecy if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, because you won't get it anyway. Even if you try to figure it out, these things are going to be veiled to you. You won't be able to see them. You won't be able to understand them if you don't have the mind of Christ, right? The Bible says the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy in the book of Revelation. if you don't have a testimony of Christ, you don't know him, you don't have Jesus living in your heart, and I'm talking about a reality of his presence in your life, there's no way you're going to know the timelines, the timetable. You're not going to know that, summer is nigh. You're not going to understand what that means. You're not going to know that the fig tree is budding and that this generation will not pass away. You're not going to see all the connected dots. You might have a general idea, like a sleepy virgin. Sleepy virgins kind of knew that Jesus was at the door, but they didn't really understand. They woke up. The wise virgins woke up too. They were asleep. There was a certain moment in history where they all wake up, and this might be the time where we're at. Everybody's waking up to the reality of prophecy. You got foolish virgins might be, in my mind, I'm thinking foolish virgins might be a lot of those who are claiming that Jesus is going to just snatch them out of the world before any bad things start happening, that they don't have to suffer. Yeah, Jesus is going to save them because he doesn't want to abuse them. Jesus doesn't abuse his bride, and he's just going to save you at the last minute. You're just going to be flying away. You're going to just fly away, and you won't have to go through any tribute. You won't have to see the Antichrist. You won't have to take the mark of the beast or be tempted to take the mark of the beast because, Jesus is going to just snatch you right out, and you'll be just flying away. But maybe that's not right. Maybe that isn't accurate. Maybe that's the wrong interpretation, and maybe that's the foolish virgins that are asleep, that don't have oil and they're not ready. Because the people that do expect tribulation are preparing. They're preparing to suffer. They're preparing for the long haul, and they see in reality what's coming. They're not in fantasy land, fantasy island. Little tattoo, the plane. Look, boss. The plane is coming. United States has delivered the first 5 Harpoon coastal anti-ship missile systems to Taiwan. What are they expecting? Are we expecting a big onslaught from China right now? Why are we delivering these over there to Taiwan? Because this will just sink ships. These are like loose lips right here. They're going to be sinking ships. This former ISIS leader and former Al-Qaeda leader, he was both Al-Qaeda and ISIS. He's now the president of Syria. Trump says he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's tough, but he's a good guy, even though he killed people, even though he ordered the slitting of people's throats and to make documentaries to pass them on around the world for everybody to see it. He's still a good guy. Still a good guy. We can still work with him. He's got to give him a second chance. Maybe he'll make it all better. UK and France order more Storm Shadow missiles and step up military cooperation. They're preparing for nuclear war with Russia, and they're trying to unite their forces, their nuclear forces in Europe, UK, France, and Europe. They're all preparing for a conflict with Russia. China is getting ready to send J-10 fighter jets to Iran. This is coming from Newsweek. Brazilian currency falls more than 2% after U.S. dollar against the U.S. dollar after Trump announced a 50% tariff against the country. Not only against Brazil, but there was a whole list of countries that had either 20 to 50% tariffs. A huge list of new countries. And there's more to come, from what I understand. More countries are on the list. So you're about to see things get really crazy. Here's the mezuzah that Netanyahu gave to Trump. It's called the Peacemaker. It's kind of like that little gun that they call the Peacemaker. What did they call that? Was it Colt 45? They called it the Peacemaker. Yeah, it makes peace because it's going to blow your head off if you don't go along with it. You don't go along with what we say, we're going to blow your head off, and there'll be peace after that. Peace through blowing your head off. That's how we make peace. We threaten you, and we control. We basically put fear so that we can have peace, right? Isn't that what Palantir guy said? What was his name? He said, we need to make sure that they go to bed at night afraid so that we can be free and we can have peace. If they don't go to bed afraid, then, we're going to be basically threatened by them and that we won't have peace. So we got to make sure they go to bed every night afraid. But we got to push this fear-based compliance on all of our enemies. We don't want to in any way try to work with them. No, we don't want diplomacy. No, we just want them to be afraid that we're going to drop a bomb on them or their family members if they don't listen to what we have to say. And we've got the software now to do it. Iran stashes thousands of missiles and drones ready to defend the nation. This is an interesting video here. You might want to check that one out. Yemeni sinks another Israeli-bound ship, violating the ban in the Red Sea. This was the unusual military movements. We talked about that. Here's all the tariffs on the different countries. Trump seems to be very happy about that. Lots of new tariffs. These are all brand new. Big, beautiful tariffs. And here's the spiritual warfare channel you want to get connected to. Just type in BP Ministries and go over there and subscribe. And we do our daily broadcasts, usually sometime in mid-morning, West Coast time, to early afternoon, but mostly in the mornings on West Coast time. But if you're over on the East Coast, it's going to probably be sometime in the early afternoon. So join us when you get a chance, or at least go back over there and watch the archive. And let's see. What else is going on here? Hold on one second here. We are reaching levels of fell for it again that shouldn't even be possible, Nick Fuentes. All right, let's look at some of what Nick Fuentes had to say. Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, he's a pretty good kid, a smart kid for being so young. Only 26 years old. Here, Nick Fuentes was a very, very big Trump supporter. Very big, even up into 2020. Very, very much behind. Even though I knew he was way off track at that time, like everybody else that was on the Trump train, they were going to have indigestion real soon. In fact, they were going to want to throw up. I predicted very soon, just like Alex Jones. Did you see that video of him almost throwing up? He's like, my mouth is watering. He looked like he was about to cry. SS fell for it again. He's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fell for it again rewards. That's the way I think of it. I'm like, how stupid can people be? They keep falling for all of these lies. Why do they keep believing this? Because they love hopium. Hopium is such a good drug. All you got to do is Norman Vincent Peale in it. You just keep Norman Vincent Peale in it, and you get your own hopium. You can stir up. You can make a brew of it every night if you want. Drink it down to the dregs. Just drink it up. Alex Jones, will the White House officially fly the flag of Jeffrey Epstein and the Mossad? What? What the heck is he talking about here now? This is Alex Jones. Let's see what he said here. Oh, gosh. We're going to have to look at this. Oops, wrong one. Sorry about that. Get me back here. Hold on. Let's take a look at this. Alex Jones post. What is he saying here? Okay, so it says, will the White House officially fly the flag of Jeffrey Epstein and the Mossad? You know what that looks like? It looks like that Jeffrey Epstein temple on his island Remember, it was blue and white striped. That is weird. Okay, so must see. This is all about Prince Andrew, and it's all about Ehud Barak, because Ehud Barak was one of the presidents of Israel, and he was very involved with Jeffrey Epstein. But, the whole thing with Epstein, I think, was an Israeli operation anyway. So I'm not sure if it was their operation to try to control their politicians as well as ours. Yeah, I think all of the above. This is about Israel, and it's about the UK, right? Prince Andrew, obviously, compromising even the UK. This is at the heart of their control system. It's gotten 645,000 views, yes. It says he would never compromise himself. Who put that in there? Are you talking about? Is he talking about himself? Because old Alex Jones believed it when we were trying to tell everybody like Z Media and other people like that Alex Jones has fallen off the wagon, and nobody believed us. Alex Jones has believed a lie. He's actually taken a wooden nickel once again, controlled opposition. Yep, he is controlled opposition. This time knowingly. Before he said, I was unknowingly controlled opposition. How many of you guys saw that? Once one of Donald Trump's loudest defenders, Nick Fuentes, is now tearing into the very man he used to praise. His message? Trump's no different from the politicians he claimed to rise against, and maybe even worse. He's backstabbed everyone. He's Hillary, but uglier, more stupid, and pathetic. Are you kidding? Did he really say that? Nothing that I would ever say. I would never say that. Let's see what let's just hear what Nick Fuentes had to say. Nick Fuentes. It sounds kind of Mexican. Is he a Mexican? Is he a Mexican? He's got that Fuentes name. All right, let's listen.
It's a deep and personal stab in the back to all of his supporters, to everybody that actually believed that it was going to be different. That the kind of Pizzagate, Clinton cash, Fast and Furious, Tower 7, Bush lied, that kind of corruption, we thought it would be different. We thought that was over. Maybe that it was impossible, that Trump represented this wrecking ball of truth and anti-corruption and the populist movement, something like that. Obviously, that is now over. Obviously, now there are no illusions anymore. He is just like the rest of them.
But I want to believe.
He is just like the rest of them.
I want to believe, though,
lying
Nick.
to our faces about something so gross, something so obvious, so in your face. Epstein did not kill himself. Everyone knows that. Obviously, he ran a blackmail ring. And he's going to sit there and get defensive and play games. And he's going to stand on the graves of the people in Texas and say, why is everyone even talking about this? Let's move on. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's worse than Hillary Clinton. Like, you want to say fuck?
Okay, I want to make sure I cut him off before he starts cussing. It's kind of like Hillary Clinton when she's like, they were like, we know that you were involved in all these corrupt things with your husband, like Whitewater and everything else going on behind the scenes there, Hillary. No, I was at home baking cookies. Do you remember when she said that? She was all like, I was at home baking cookies. You're right. Anyways, I can't let Nick go on because he sounds like he's totally lost his mind. But see, that's what happens when you believe lies. Even people like Nick Fuentes lose their brains. Now, we saw that coming a mile away. We tried to tell everybody. Z Media, Nick Fuentes, even people that are close to Alex. Come on, you guys, wake up. Wake up. You guys are falling off the wagon here. But it's all out there now. Everybody sees it. This is more water coming in. Did we see this? Okay, this is the wrong one. Okay, I've already seen all this. This was a tunnel collapse in, yeah. But here, I probably should just play this. Let's see. Alex, let's see. Is this it? Let me see. Oh, this is when I just got to play this one more time.
So now, by coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has become part of it. I mean, it's just you cannot see it any other way. So I just got to the office. I'm gonna go throw up, actually, and this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something. I mean, I'm physically gonna puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now. It's because I have integrity, and
I know you got integrity. I know your integrity just woke up. That's what happened. His conscience just all of a sudden just like woke up because he realizes how bad it really looks. But what about this one? What about this one?
But now he's transcended just being about positivity into something messianic, which I mean, if you get a snapshot of Trump, he's a dark person, but also I mean, look. If anybody can be the Antichrist, and I don't think he's the Antichrist, but he's the type of person. Also, Elon Musk. I mean, there's some definite dark energy around Trump, and I know if I was ever controlled opposition, it was unwittingly being sucked into it. And I think the jury's out on Trump, but they.
If I ever was controlled opposition, I was unwittingly. That was his conversation about Trump presidency number 1. Trump presidency number 2, right after he recorded this, they reached out and they said, oh, maybe we'll have Alex Jones as our press secretary in the new Trump administration. And then Elon decides to let Alex back on because, he was treated unfairly and he was censored. Let's go ahead and give him back his millions of followers on X and have little powwows on X right after this happened, within a week. Tell me that wasn't just sucking up and trying to suck Alex right back into his compromised position, because this was just Alex Jones's conscience waking up to the reality, and all of a sudden they're like, don't do that, Alex. We need your network. We need that network. We have to control all of your people, and you have to be the one that does it. You're our mouthpiece. We're going to pay you really well. Don't you want to go along? Otherwise, we can do this the hard way and destroy everything. Which one is it, Alex? Which one do you want? And Alex says, I'll take door number 1. I'll go ahead and just give in and save my network and praise Trump. But now he realizes. Now that's why he's got Nick Fuentes on there now, because he has to state the obvious, because everybody knows it's so clear. And the reason why he's sick to his stomach is because he's been stabbed in his back. Just like everybody else that's MAGA. Stabbed in your back, right to your face. It's just blatantly in your face now. There's no care or concern for what you really think or feel. Because you know why? You really don't matter anymore. There's bigger fish to fry now for Trump. He's got the world knocking on his door. He's got all the control levers, Palantir and everything else. He's got all the data on every single one of you out there. You say one thing, he's gonna probably pull up your whole database and find out how we can get, what does it say? You can indict a ham sandwich, really. you can get people to shut up. So it don't matter, MAGA. You're not going to whistle blow on Trump. It ain't going to happen. Power is consolidated and it's over. Everything is done. And I would expect Alex to not be around too much longer after all this. This is what I'm expecting now, is that something's not going to work out there. I just think, and I say that about the network. I'm not saying that personal. I'm just saying I think that the network is going to be affected in some way because you can't dissent. I don't feel that, and this is an environment of. This is why Nick is. He said he was afraid. This is why Candace said they're afraid. They're all afraid. They're all afraid, and they're talking about their fear of the worst kind, because they understand. Just like Fuentes, he says, "I don't even know who this guy." You know, he's freaked out at what he sees going on right now. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to wake up and they're going to start wanting to question, and they're not going to be able to. Just like that reporter. That reporter was shut down in an instant, and he was telling him, "What the hell are you doing asking me questions about this? Who are you to ask me questions like that? You're desecrating this moment." What? You're desecrating what moment? The moment of all these successes? The moment of your nomination to be have the Nobel Peace Prize, the moment of all the deaths of children that happened to perish in that flood? That moment you're desecrating? I thought the truth was going to liberate people. I thought the truth was going to set people free. The desecration is that you're hiding it, that you're covering it up. That's the desecration. What do you think? Absolutely, Troy. You're gone now. You've been used for your purpose is over. But if you're one of the Lord's, I'm going to tell you what, and you're truly one of those spoken of in the scriptures, you're truly one of the Lord's mouthpieces, then, there's going to be a point where they're going to be tormented by the truth for a period of time. And I think that's the time we're in. We're in the time of the true prophecies of the Lord being spoken at the time of a great flood of evil, a great flood of wickedness that's come in. It says that there would be a standard that would be raised up. When evil comes in, when it says when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise up a standard against him. And I believe the standard is being raised. A standard, you know what a standard is, right? Battle standard. It is a flag that represents the opposition, and it encourages the troops to continue to fight. Remember the Patriot is waving the flag? That's the standard. Don't let the standard fall down. Just continue to hold that standard, and you keep going forward. And don't back down. And don't be intimidated by fear. Because that's the enemy of that does that fear thing, because you don't have the Lord, you got fear. If you got the Lord in your life, you don't have no fear. Perfect love casts out all fear. He that fears is not made perfect in love. Fear has to do with judgment, and you're not under judgment if you're in Christ. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ. So make sure you're found in Him. Make sure you're not found wanting. When you're weighed, you're being tested. You better not be found wanting. You better be found with the Lord. He is the weighty. He is the substance of your soul. He is the gold, silver, and precious stones. He's the one that's going to secure you against the times, against these evil and wicked, this evil and perverse and wicked generation that it says is like deep darkness. You're going to shine like lights, like stars in the heavens. They're going to come to the brightness of your rising. That's why it says, arise, shine, for your light has come. And the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. See, gross darkness covers the people, but they will come to the brightness of your rising. And it's going to be happening when there's darkness descends, that there's going to be a bright light in those who are the Lord's. So get ready, because this is the time we're in right now. I truly believe we're in the moments that are preceding the second coming of the Lord very soon. But there's going to be there's going to be a flood. I believe that flood is coming in now. And you're seeing it right now with all the crazy weather. I think in the natural, it's kind of revealing what's happening in the spirit. And you're seeing the preparations for and the prelude to chaos in the Middle East. You saw what the Mossad guy said, right? My gate is almost complete. Another sign for those who are following those little signs. Yeah, the abomination, I know. Well, guys, I think that's about it. God bless all you out there. I pray you're doing well. And support what we're doing, guys. Pray for us. Share our videos. We need to grow the channel a little bit more to keep our support coming in on that level as well. So we're trusting the Lord for everything that's happening. So we're doing that. We're in that frame too. We're not looking to any man right now, really. If the Lord is for us, who can be against us? I'm not putting my focus on anybody individually or looking for my hope to come from this world or my help. It is coming from the Lord Most High, right? The maker of heaven and earth. I've seen too many miracles happen throughout my life that happen at the very right moments, like clockwork, to not doubt that he's not going to do it again. Everything that we need is going to be supplied by him. And everybody that God calls and speaks to will do what he calls them to do. Amen. So let's all work together and pray together and ask the Lord to open up the windows of heaven to pour out spiritual blessings in the salvation of many, the awakening of those who are asleep, and the reviving of the Spirit and the discipleship that needs to happen. I mean, time may be very short. I mean, whatever needs to be done in this period needs to be done now. And we all need to be doing our part. Amen. God bless you. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, and give you peace. And we'll talk more about the gate thing at the fellowship and devotional channel. I'll go into more details. I know there's people that are wondering what that is. If you go over and watch the last couple of videos, you'll get the gist of what the gate prophecy is, and that's something that's been going on for like 13 or so years. The Lord spoke to us about some things. Actually, it's probably been more like 14 years. It's almost 14 years, man. It's a long time. But anyways, in the meantime, I'll let you know more as things unfold and how it's all connected, because these dots are all now being connected. So get ready. Everything's about to come to pass, I think. That's what we're looking at. All right, God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.